Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Craig Burley, Stevie Nicol and Gab Marcotti here in the studio with us. Very nice to have you here, Gab.
I'm back.
You are back, and we're very happy to have you. Listen, we're going to start by talking about Manchester United on their pre-season tour. They made it 3 wins from 3 when they beat Crystal Palace 3-1 in Melbourne, but that did not stop the boos for Harry Maguire, and it may be 10,000 miles away from Manchester, but come on, Craig, what the heck?
I don't know, it's a hard one to explain. I mean, he's not been the only one that's underperformed, but at United there's been a lot of them. I don't know if he's said anything or anything else is bringing it up. I know he was booed for England, which I thought was rather stupid really, because his performances for England have been way more consistent. Gareth Southgate will tell you that, that's why he selects him. Clearly this is not people that go to Old Trafford every week, not a lot of them, certainly not in Australia, but I don't quite understand it. Yeah, he's not been brilliant for Man United, but this is a player, I repeat myself, this is a player a couple of years ago, or just a bit more, was being vaunted as, you know, one of the big centre-halves, and Guardiola was chasing him. City wouldn't pay the fee that was wanted by Leicester, and United did. So yeah, he's got time to resurrect his career. Whether he will or not, I don't know, but I don't quite understand all the boos, to be honest.
It just shows there are morons all over the world. I mean, let's be honest. Who sits and waits for their team to come to Australia to see them live, and then you're booing one of your own players? I mean, seriously, it's completely and utterly wrong, and there's absolutely nothing to justify it whatsoever.
To justify booing a player who you feel has let you down? I mean, these are fans, right? They're invested in the club.
Oh, no,
they look at somebody.
Can I stop you there, Gab, please? Yeah. There is one thing that is not acceptable, and it is booing your own players, particularly with the situation. This is not a guy who last Saturday. This is not a guy who last Saturday scored a hat-trick of own goals at Old Trafford against Liverpool, and they lost 3-0. This is a guy who you've been told is going to be your captain. He may have had a tough time last season, but you're going to wait all pre-season, you're going to wait for your team to come, and you're going to start booing this guy the first time he touches the ball. Absolute garbage. That's nonsense. But look, there's no way, there's nothing you can say that makes this any way acceptable at any point. And to say they're fans and they can say what they want, that's not acceptable.
Listen, I'll tell you what, one day Harry Maguire will no longer be a United player. Those fans will still be there. Now, I'm not saying I would boo him if I were a United fan, but he had a rotten season last year. He is a club captain, has to stand for something. I think I can understand how somebody might come to the conclusion and say, you've come to symbolize everything that went wrong last year. And maybe it's unfair because the year before he played every minute of every game and whatever, right? Between this and the nonsense in Greece and the own goals and looking silly, whatever, all this stuff. So I'm going to vent my frustration on you. This is just something you have to accept. This is something that, you know, it's not like when you're a fan, it's not like you've joined a cult, right? You're invested in the club, and you will still be there when that player and his millions have all left. And I can see how fans feel this way, and I think fans are entitled to boo their own players. I don't think you're breaking some...
No, I think they're entitled to boo their own players, but what if Harry... Look,
how many times have you booed Chelsea players?
Wait, that's not
oh, that's not the point. You're not a fan then.
But if Harry Maguire had... If it's come out... Harry Maguire did not play well, but I don't think he tried to not play well, right? I think we agree on that. I don't think it was I think there was bad decision making in games. I think he lost his confidence. There was one or two off-field things that he needs to tidy up. I'll give you that, but he played badly because his confidence suffered. It doesn't matter who you are. When you're under pressure, you're the captain. You're not the captain. You've got a big fee. Your confidence has suffered. If he's out there undermining managers, undermining the club, doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing, fine. I've slightly got a problem with this booing. I mean, if it's 3 months into the season and he's still having a stinker, fine. But what we have here is people who call themselves fans. When you've got a manager trying to resurrect a team and pull players with their chins on the floor off the ground with a new manager, do you think booing them in pre-season is helping that process or hindering that process?
I totally agree. It doesn't necessarily help.
It's hindering.
There's no
you could also make the point that but all I'm pointing out, Stevie, is that People have a right to do this. They're entitled to do this. It doesn't mean that they're right, that they're correct in doing it for the reasons Craig says. And by the way, if you're going to go and vent your anger at him and your frustration, better to do it in some irrelevant preseason friendly in Australia than in a game when something's on the line.
Which is a point in itself, Stevie, because we did go to look to see what we could hear on the footage, to hear those boos. It is in Australia. It might not be the same in Old Trafford with those fans.
It doesn't matter where it is.
It's not the vocalness of the booing. It's the headlines that follow it. The headlines travel further than the noise, because we're talking about it. It's in the papers. It's been on the back pages. It's doing all the rounds on social media. So it's making the noises it needed to make.
When there's no justification.
And that's going to be seen by the player.
Zero. There is zero justification for it. As I said to Gab, if he scores a hat-trick of own goals on the Saturday or the Tuesday before this game against Liverpool, then you can expect...
It's okay to boo him?
You can expect...
Yeah.
Well, because there's no justification. I'm talking about justification. There is no justification for this whatsoever. For all the reasons Craig has just said, it's your team. Oh, we've been garbage since Fergie left. Now they're trying to build a club. They're trying to do this.
Well, I agree
they're
with you. It's not helpful.
But you've got a bunch of morons who go and boo the captain for no justification.
I mean,
it's wrong.
I get it. Fans will turn up, and you always get an element. But this is a bunch of people down in Australia. Pretty much. I mean, I'm not trying to generalise here, but I just have. I mean, there's not 5,000 United fans have travelled down, I wouldn't imagine. So it's a bunch of locals, United fans, yes, who've watched and listened and maybe been to the odd game and saw the headlines and saw him being booed and listened to him being booed for England and have read about it and thought, do you know what? We'll just get on the bandwagon, which is fair enough. That's your choice. You want to do that. I think it's counterintuitive, particularly when a new manager comes in and he's trying to get the best. And by the way, we could also be looking at booing the £100 million player in Jadon Sancho. We could always be looking at booing a Marcus Rashford, who's got so many outside interests that at the moment that his head seems completely turned. And Anthony Martial, who was sent to Sevilla and they couldn't wait to send him back. The list is endless. Yes, he was captain, but come on. At least get behind your team at the start of the season with your new coach, who, by the way, might see Harry Maguire in a slightly different light to the previous two coaches, who, by the way, should never have been at the club in the first place. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that German guy who was hopeless. Well,
the new manager has a lot of faith in Harry Maguire, talking about the captain, and speaking to Rob Dawson. Before the booing, might I add, just so you add some context to this, before this game, not that it will have changed anything, he was asked, the captain normally plays every game, so you must think he will be a first choice player. To which Ten Hag answered, I think he is. He's proved it in the past, but he also has to prove it in the present time and in the future. He has played 60 times for England. Harry is really impressive and I expect a lot from him, but there is also internal competition, and that is what a club like Man United needs.
I bet he's muttered so far this season 1,000 times in Dutch. Oh, for God's sake, stop asking me about this freaking captaincy. And all the English boys are going, what's he saying? What is he saying? He's got to be.
You think he'd rather talk about the captaincy or talk about Cristiano?
I was thinking you were thinking he was going to say, I hope this guy doesn't let me down.
Don't worry, we've got him on board.
Well, that's the two things he's talking about, isn't it? So.
Yeah, obviously that's what it is, but it has to help, Gab, especially when you've got this backdrop of fans booing you even in the pre-season, to have the backing of your manager like this.
I mean, you wouldn't expect your manager to say anything different. And in any walk of life, you wouldn't expect your boss to say anything different. You know, he has to back you. And I think it's logical. I mean, look, Harry Maguire is the same person who, the year before, wasn't a great season for United either, but they did finish second, if I'm not mistaken, and he played every minute of every game. And was he Beckenbauer? No, he wasn't. But he was solid, and I think he knows he had a rough season, and I think equally, if you're Ten Hag, you live in the real world. You look at, who are my centre backs? Erik Bailly still knocking around, Varane with his injury issues, Lindelof, Lisandro Martinez. I knew you were going to go there. but do you know what I'm saying? It's like, he's my asset. He is what I have. I mean, Axel Tuanzebe, his contract was going to run out, hasn't been extended. You know, this is a reality.
If any one of us three were the manager right now, we'd be doing the exact same thing with Harry Maguire, for all the reasons you've just said. Not one of us would have throwing Harry Maguire out the door. Not one of them. He's doing exactly what he should do.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do for all the reasons you said. He's going to play because of the choices. He is the captain, and you look at everybody else. There's nobody else anyway. So absolutely, he's doing exactly what he should do, right?
And he also said, and he has to continue to do it in the present, right? So if Lisandro Martinez shows that he's a monster center back, if he does play at the back, and Varane's fit, and Lindelof, and whatever, maybe he'll be on the bench because the other guys are better. But I think Ten Hag couldn't have scripted better what he said. He said all the right things.
And by the way, I don't think early signs are that Ten Hag will be frightened to do that.
No.
Which I think is a great thing for Man United, because I think the previous two have been fiddling around, and I don't want to go over it with those two. They just, I mean, Ranić was slightly different, but between the two of them, they should never have been anywhere near Man United. I think at least with Ten Hag, the early signs, and from his coaching career in Holland, but the early signs here, if he's going to fail at Man United, and there's no suggestion he will, but he's going to succeed or fail on his terms. With these players, if they don't do it for him, they're either in the team or they're out of the team. There's no fudging it. There's none of this nonsense. And I honestly think the early signs, notwithstanding some of these results in pre-season, that sometimes you can take with a pinch of salt. But I just feel with this guy, he's as close to the real deal as they've had since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club.
Well, you mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo as well, something else he's been having to talk about a lot. And he did in this recent interview, asked about Cristiano Ronaldo and his role in the team. He was asked, can Cristiano Ronaldo play regularly for an Erik Ten Hag team that likes to press from the front at the age of 37? To which the coach replied, I think Cristiano is capable of doing that. In his career, he has shown everything. There was another question about Cristiano Ronaldo saying he won't slow you down. Erik Ten Hag replied, saying, I have set my demand. We want to play in a certain way. A top player can contribute, and Ronaldo is an absolute top player in our squad. What do you make of that, Craig?
Well, I'm not up to full speed on the Ronaldo situation behind the scenes, so I think those are very generic answers, if I'm being honest.
And he wouldn't even be drawn either on saying like when he's back or anything right now. But let's say he does come back.
I don't know what the club's position is. I don't know what the club's position is, Gab, in terms of, if Ronaldo is going to play a sort of Lewandowski hardball game, or whether they're going to go down he's going to go down a different route, because we know Lewandowski made it crystal clear about the relationship between himself and the club and what he expected. We haven't quite got to that stage yet, I don't think, but we may do with the season looming in the transfer window, end of August, blah, blah, blah. I don't know the club's position on this.
Sorry, Gab. The two things are, he's done great because he hasn't answered the question. Generic is absolutely perfect. Nobody can take anything from it whatsoever. The other thing is, to Craig's point about, this guy looks as though if you do it, you're good. If you don't, you're out. We ain't going to find that out till they start playing a proper game. And if Ronaldo doesn't do it, then we'll find out if Mr. Ten Hag is going to follow through with all the strong things that he says.
So what is the latest then, Gab, that we do know on the Cristiano Ronaldo situation?
The situation is unchanged. He's on personal leave. I think. This is my interpretation, but if he got the right offer from another club and it suited United, I'm sure United would do nothing to keep him if it was the right offer. I was interested in what Ten Hag had to say there to Rob's question about the pressing and stuff, because we've seen him all season. We've seen him with managers who like to press and demand a certain type of movement, a certain type of intensity. We have that. We have analytics on it. He doesn't do it. And it doesn't make him a bad player, because there's a flip side to this. You could have Cristiano not pressing and tracking back, and then he'll still score the worldie in the last minutes. And he did it on a number of occasions last season, which gets you points and gets you to advance in the Champions League. So if he ends up staying, this is something Erik Ten Hag is going to have to sort out one way or another. And I think his nose got a little bit longer when he said, oh yes, he can go and press and do all these things that I demand from people in my teams in the way he did. He either does that, or he turns into Sebastian Haller and stands in the middle and just gets kicked all the time and plays as a target man. But Cristiano doesn't want to do that. You're not going to get the best out of him. There is a reality to Cristiano and the player he is now. And if you're going to have him in your squad and it's just for a year, you're going to have some huge decisions to make. And I don't want to be in Ten Hag's shoes making those decisions.
Because if you play him and he doesn't even make an attempt to press, and your whole thing falls apart, you're going to have to make a decision. You take him off, you don't play him, you drop him. There's the big storyline again, which we have at the moment. So it just never goes away. It's a difficult scenario. I'm intrigued what the Ronaldo camp's thinking about this, because when this first broke a few weeks ago about 37, Champions League, United's a rebuild, want to go somewhere and challenge again, it's not about the money. Well, if United are prepared to let him go at the right deal, can his team not make it happen, Gab? I mean, does it have to be an astronomical wage?
I think they can make it happen. Look, we saw this last summer, right? I mean, history's repeating itself. He moved on the last day of the transfer window. Jorge Mendes had to go on a Cristiano Ronaldo roadshow to Paris, to City, to United, and saying, hey, do you want this? Do you want
so
my
where's
client?
he going?
But where's he going? Bayern have come out and said they're not interested again. We pretty much heard that from Oliver Kahn.
We knew that wasn't going to happen.
PSG, they're not interested.
I would take what Oliver Kahn says with a pinch of salt. For God's sake. Him and Salih Hamidi. Good grief.
Okay, but let's say it is ruled out. Where's he going?
I think it depends on the number. It depends. People forget this. He took a sizable pay cut to go to Manchester United. Let's not forget about that. He had a year left. I suspect teams simply can't afford him. Teams that can play him and where he can help the team, and there's a manager who isn't like, oh no, this is my system. Cristiano's going to upset my system. He needs to go to a club where there's a manager who says, yeah, this guy's going to sort things out for us. Maybe I'm not going to ask him to run or whatever. I can make it work with him. He just needs to take a pay cut to balance the books. I don't know.
What if a new owner says, I don't care about your system, and I'm thinking about a certain club with an American ownership that have just come in and said, I just want to make another statement.
Can we think of another club with one of his favorite managers in history, maybe a club where he's been to before that, maybe tried to sign a big striker over the summer, wasn't able to do it because he stayed at Paris Saint-Germain? And
is it blue or is it white?
It's white, obviously. I mean, I'm throwing out scenarios, but this is what we can say. It's all crazy talk, but the reality is, we know he wants to play Champions League football. We know that he can continue to produce in certain situations because he did it last year in a horrendous context on a horrendous team at United, and he did in the Champions League as well. If it comes down to money, if he's willing to take a pay cut, why not wait till the end, see how things are in August? The leagues will have started. And, I mean, that's how I would play it if I was Jorge Mendes. And if it doesn't work out, I'd come back to United, and unless Erik ten Hag's won every game, I knock on the door, and I feel pretty good about my chances. He lets me back in. And if you know what, Craig, if that doesn't happen, I rest until the World Cup, and I win the World Cup with Portugal, and I go back and say, hey, Erik, and I do one of those.
Hey, that sounds very easy to say.
That all sounds very nice.
He must have been listening to the Christian Pulisic interview, talking about winning the World Cup.
Do you think he'd rather go to Chelsea or Real Madrid?
Well, listen,
to your point.
Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. I mean, look, I don't know Todd Bowley. I know Tom Glick who's coming to see. These aren't the football people, right? I don't see any kind of fit at Chelsea with Thomas Tuchel, like zero. And Thomas Tuchel is a system manager, as Craig just alluded to.
Well, it's the same at United.
Well, come on. But
it's the same at United. It doesn't fit.
The big difference, Thomas Tuchel won a Champions League. Thomas Tuchel has, I think, more gravitas because the people around him have all gone. Right now, they're all gone. There's no director of football. There's no Marina Granovskaya around. So if Thomas Tuchel says, yeah, I want this, I think he's got more leverage.
But going back to the other point, and I know it's hypothetical at the clubs, but possible come the end of the transfer window. Carlo Ancelotti, he's managed that ship, that difficult situation very, very, amazingly well last year. He's got one or two headaches in the squad to deal with, positions. He doesn't need that headache, does he? Because Ronaldo coming in, Benzema, the bottom lip would be on the floor.
I don't think so either. But you know what? It's football. Never say never. And what I tell you though is that knowing Carlo Ancelotti for many, many years, he's not the one who's going to call the shot on this. No. It's going to be Florentino.
Yes.
If Florentino decides that it's good for the club, Carlo Ancelotti is going to do his best to make it work. He's not going to throw his toys out of the pram. He personally, genuinely likes Cristiano as a person.
Sure he does, yeah.
And he would say, all right, fine, I'm not going to say no to this.
So
I'll make it work.
So there's not a fit then?
Where?
There's not a fit.
There's
not a fit. Where does he go?
Well, I think the trouble is, it is difficult as good as this player has been, amazing. Excuse me, when you're 37 and you've completely rebuilt your game and changed the way you play to be able to keep playing at that level from this silky fashionable, energetic winger with all the tricks of the trade and the goals and the free kick to a guy who effectively became an out-and-out striker in the end, remodelled and reshaped his game, but isn't able to run about now, and is 37, and unless he takes another monstrous wage cut, is expensive. Well, a lot of these clubs want to play a more modern, dynamic game in a fast-paced sport that is only getting quicker and quicker every year. It is, at that age, difficult to have a clear fit.
You need a pragmatic manager. He's been linked with again, we're in fantasy land here. He's been linked with Atletico.
Welcome to the show. That's a daily experience.
And that's why there's no fit.
He's been linked with Atletico.
That's why there's no fit.
Well, he's been linked with Atletico, right? Atletico had a great striker who was older, great goal scorer, and who for one season, I'm thinking Luis Suarez here, was extremely productive in that
but
role.
Not very mobile.
But not mobile.
Not super mobile. I mean, Cristiano is a lot more mobile than Luis Suarez, right? And he's a better goal scorer.
Still getting rid of him because he's not mobile.
But maybe with Diego Simeone, there's a way of playing.
Can a Real Madrid legend go to Atleti?
That's Cristiano. He can do what he wants.
2022, we can go anywhere we want.
Again,
I don't mean us, but I mean in general.
It doesn't fit there either. Listen, Ronaldo is not going to go to a team whose first thing in their head is to not lose the ball and not go forward.
He went to Man United.
Every team he's been on, every team he's been on have been the best or next to the best, and they're all about going forward. They're all about playing attacking football. And
Okay, all right,
does not include.
So Mbappe says, hey, guess what, PSG fans? I was just kidding. I'm off to Real Madrid, and he teams up with Messi and Neymar at Paris Saint-Germain. Happy now?
It still doesn't fit.
All right. We're going to be here all night going through scenarios if we don't move on. If you'd like to see more of that interview with Erik ten Hag, with Rob Dawson, and more on Ronaldo and Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford, all the things he'd had to say, go on over to our website. Bayern Munich are in the US on the pre-season. While here, Kasey Keller caught up with CEO Oliver Kahn to talk more about Robert Lewandowski's replacement.
The Lewandowski situation, pretty happy that it's over, or a little strange the way it kind of transpired?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we had very long debates and very long negotiations with Robert. But I think at the end we make a good deal, I think, for both sides. We get an adequate transfer amount for Robert. And we decided to let him go to Barcelona because now we have some options. Yeah, we engage with Mané, so we have so many options in our in our offensive that we, yes, as I said before, that we decided to let him go.
Right. You were also talking about. You said in an interview the other day about the future wish list, potentially Harry Kane.
No.
I mean, we were kind of joking about it earlier, just kind of saying that, you know, every CEO at every club has a wish list of Harry Kane. So.
Yeah, but there are so many questions, you know, so many questions about players. Harry Kane, he's under contract for Tottenham Hotspurs, and we have to arrange our team, you know, for this season. So Harry Kane, you know, we all know him. He's a great player. He's a great striker with great technical abilities. But at the moment, he's playing for Tottenham Hotspurs, and I don't want to talk so much about players of other clubs.
Right. Is that kind of a tricky thing now that you've lost a 40 goal a season striker, and the idea is, here's this money that Bayern has. They have to be interested in every striker around.
Yeah, but there are not so many strikers, not so many world-class strikers around. But I think in our team, you know, we have so many options. We have so many possibilities. We can play, you know, we have Thomas Müller. He can score. We have Musiala. He can score. We have Sané. We have Kingsley Coman. Now we have Mané. So we have so many options, so many flexibility in the team, and every one of these players can score. And I think additionally, when you look at Julian Nagelsmann, you know, he's very he's very tactical savvy coach, you know, so he has so many thoughts in his mind, and I think now our opponents, they know what to do. There's Robert in the center, you know, and then they know what to do. But now, no, we are very flexible, so this could be hard for our opponents. But nevertheless, yeah, we all know Robert, and we are very thankful for what he did for the club. He played for Bayern Munich for I think 8 years, and he won everything with the club. German Cup, German Bundesliga, Champions League. Yes, he was awarded the best player in the world. So we're very thankful to Robert, and I wish him now all the best in Barcelona.
There was a rumor about Ronaldo, and you kind of put a little cold water on that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I heard about that, and yeah, I like Ronaldo. You know, he is one of the best players we ever had in this sport, and yeah, it was a great idea, you know, and our fans like it, you know, having Ronaldo play for Bayern Munich, but that the philosophy that doesn't fit to our philosophy, so we are planning in another way.
So on that philosophy, what was it that really said Mane is the guy that fits into that philosophy?
Well, I was so impressed. About Mane, because we talked with him, and we asked him if he could imagine to come to Bayern Munich, and I think he needs a few hours, one day, and then he said yes, I will come to Bayern Munich. And that's, you know, I like this kind of players, you know. They don't need so much time to decide. He decided very fast. He wants to come to us. He wants to be successful, and he wants to win the Champions League. And I think a world-class player like him, I think everyone could be lucky to have him in the team.
Okay, there is no doubt in Sadio Mane's ability, but when we just heard Kasey ask Oliver Kahn about replacing Lewandowski's goals, he listed off a number of players for Bayern. It's going to be an interesting season ahead, isn't it? Even Nagelsmann himself has said it's going to be a big challenge.
Well, undoubtedly it's going to be a challenge, but equally, if you have a Lewandowski who's thinking of going elsewhere in the final year of his contract, you understand why they did that, why they cashed in on it. You know, this whole idea, goals can come from anywhere, but you guys know this. It's easier for other guys to score when defenders are worried about the big guy in the middle, and then other people can run into the box and get on the end of things, right?
Yeah, the problem is that you're trying to replace 40 goals, though. The football's great because you've always got the theory and you've always got the practical, and the theory's dead easy. And what we've got from Oliver Kahn and everybody else is a theory. Oh, we've got all these great players, and the manager's a genius. He just said that tactically he's fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, he's going to have to be. Because if you're going to have to create 40 goals between what you have, that's a major change.
Well, it's not 40 though, because they added Mane, right? Mane scored a bunch of goals, so you know, you subtract Mane's goals from Lewandowski's goals, not that many.
But the biggest point is, it's one thing if you sign, if Mane was a centre forward, then it takes care of itself. You don't have to change anything. The fact is, Nagelsmann's going to have to change a whole host of things, the way they attack. Good luck with that.
He said a lot without saying much.
Yeah.
I mean, I made a comment during that interview about 2 goalies in a room. What you expecting? A lot of common sense. Kasey will be on the phone later saying, you don't blame me, but I get a feeling here that they're not going to rush out and splurge on anybody just for the sake of it. And I think, I might be wrong, but I get the feeling 1 or 2 at Bayern have looked at Liverpool and City and gone, yeah, well, they tell us Nagelsmann's this adaptable, flexible coach. They've managed to make it work to an extent with This year they've got Haaland and they've got Nunez, and before that Liverpool had Firmino, but he's hardly a 40-goal Lewandowski. They've done it different ways, and there's almost like saying to Nagelsmann, I think at the moment, make it work. He wanted to go. We wanted to take the money eventually because he wasn't happy. Make this work with the players that you've got and that Kahn mentioned. I think there's a bigger chance of them doing that than going for any of the players that were brought up in that interview.
One player that we know has signed with Bayern, and they've got plenty of options in this position right now, is Matthijs de Ligt. That's been made official. He will be going there. It is a €70 million guaranteed fee with a €10 million in add-ons. It's been completed. It's a 5-year deal. Oliver Kahn also spoke to Kasey Keller about the new player.
He's a great defender. He's very young, but he has this ability which we're seeking. He has the ability to lead a team, and that's very important. And you have to have both in a team. You have to have a good offensive, but you have always to find the balance. Right. And I think in the when I look the last 2 or 3 years, the last seasons, I think. Our opponents, they scored. They scored always too much goals against us. So maybe now we have a guy who can, strengthen our defense.
Was that one of the recognitions? Is understanding that the clean sheets haven't been what you would have expected, from a Bayern Munich over the last couple of years. Yes, goals were free flowing, but having to win 3-2, 4-2.
No, I don't like that because I was a goalkeeper.
Well, of course,
I was a goalkeeper. I don't like 4-3 or 5-4. But the audience likes it very much. But not me. Not me as a goalkeeper. No, as I said before, you need both. We want to score a lot of goals. We want to play a very attractive, a very offensive game. Right. But it is very important to keep clean sheet. And that's why we strengthen our defense.
It's definitely one area they needed to strengthen, Stevie, with the goals they were letting in last season. A team like Bayern.
Yeah, no question. The question is, have they bought the right player?
Have they?
Well, Juventus are not letting de Ligt go because he was so good. When everybody was fit, it was Bonucci and Chiellini who, if you put their ages together, were kicking towards the 100 mark. And de Ligt wasn't a leader. Juventus are rebuilding. Juventus are a side that want to rebuild from the ashes pretty much, from where they finished last year. So are they really going to let their best players go?
I think the reality, as I see it, I think Juve were in a situation where it's going to be very difficult for them to extend de Ligt. You think he had 2 years left on his deal. De Ligt obviously looked after by Rafaela Pimenta, was Mino Raiola's business partner. They're just not in a super strong financial position. And when they saw that they could make this money back, personally, I really like this signing for Bayern, because you're talking about a guy who, when he talked about his leadership qualities, and I know it's one of this ephemeral thing, but he's also tall, strong, and he's comfortable on the ball. And he's at the personality.
That's my point. We haven't seen that at Juventus.
But I think we saw it a bit at Juventus, but if you think about it, he's still very young. He still has the raw tools.
I want a bit more than a bit gap for 70 million.
He was working and growing under Bonucci and Chiellini alongside them. Those are two pretty talented players, two guys to learn off. I think it's a calculated risk from Bayern because he's still so young. He can give you 10 years. And from their perspective, is he an upgrade over Nicolas Sule? Most people would say yes.
So they've got Upamecano, Lucas Hernandez. They've got a number of players at the back there. At 70 million, he's got to start, hasn't he?
Well, I think so. I think in all fairness to him, I think he did show a lot of leadership as a very young man at Ajax. When they were getting to the, I know it was the Dutch league, but still a lot of pressure as a teenager. Leading that team, which I think, if memory serves me right, he did as a teenager, and he was a Dutch international.
He did, yeah.
That's a big responsibility. It's not easy taking off the Turin and taking up the mantle of some of the greatest defenders. But yeah, he wasn't I'm sure he wasn't quite as good as he wanted to be consistently. He did have injuries, but it's Oliver Kahn said himself at 22. I mean, he's still a young guy. He's a good defender.
Yeah, and he had a different manager every season at Juventus and a different style going from Pirlo to Allegri. And so I think there's enough reasons that why you would say, all right, he can still go. I agree, it's an enormous fee, but you would look at it and say, okay, I'm going to bet on this. I'm going to give it another chance because the upside, given his age, is still enormous.
All right, well, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Matthijs de Ligt on his way to Bayern Munich. So, Bundesliga will be back here on ESPN. The defending champions Bayern will take on Eintracht Frankfurt in the opening game. Every single match all season long available on ESPN+. Make sure to keep up to date with all the latest goings on in the transfer market by checking out our Transfer Talk segment over on the website. Now, Gab's been away for a little while, so we decided to put him to task. And with the transfers that we've seen so far...
Oh no, what do you mean 4 years? What do you mean away for a little bit? Do you mean like a holiday?
Well, I mean, look at the tan.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
How many years? It's got to be 4 at least. Since you've been here a little while.
Yeah.
Just for a short period of time, Gab's been away. Anyway, we made you put the work in today because we wanted to know the most intriguing transfers, in your opinion, so far this summer. In at number 5, you've gone for Matthijs de Ligt to Bayern, a very new one. Why?
I think it's intriguing for the reasons we talked about earlier. He's very young. It's an enormous amount of money. It's the last time Bayern splashed out huge on a center half, that kind of money. Lucas Hernandez, injuries or whatever. I think the Ligt's different. I think it's a bold step, a necessary step. Romelu Lukaku is intriguing simply because of the folly of spending, in excess of 100 million on a player, and then you loan him back to the same team for a year. Lukaku taking a pay cut too. We'll see what happens the second time around.
But only 4 on the Gabba meter, Romelu Lukaku.
Because I think there's more intriguing ones.
Right.
Gabriel Jesus, I've said it before, I've been on the record. I don't like Gabriel Jesus as a center forward for the same reason that Pep Guardiola, who knows more about football than I do, believe it or not, didn't like him as a center forward. However, let's see whether Arteta's worked with him. Let's see if he has this other dimension, which was supposed to be his original dimension way back when he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Sergio Aguero. Erling Haaland, I think what's interesting here, I think there's many more dimensions of Haaland. He scored a lot of goals in a certain way, playing for Borussia Dortmund, in a club which, by the way, was a bit of a zoo. Now he's in a much more...
Surprised Haaland's on this list, to be honest.
You're not intrigued by what Haaland can become?
No, because
everybody knew he was going to be on.
Yeah, but it's still intriguing how he's going to develop, what's going to happen.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. He's going to score some goals.
But how is he going to score them? He's just going to run onto them?
With his head, with his left foot, his right foot.
And in at number 1,
Robert Lewandowski, if it goes through to Barcelona, to me, we know about Barcelona's situation. Essentially, Laporta is like the man who's taken all his chips, pushed them into the middle of the table. I don't know if it's going to be apocalyptic, if it's going to be Armageddon, if this doesn't work out, if the club's going to become insolvent. But I'll tell you what, he's a very, very brave man with the club's money.
He saw your list. He saw your list. That's why he's annoyed. He's annoyed because Darwin Núñez is not at number 1.
That's a very good transfer. I don't have an issue with
Erling Haaland.
What about Raheem Sterling? That's an intriguing one.
That's definitely an intriguing one, but we already had Chelsea involved with Lukaku, so
there's another...
I think Basuma's an intriguing. Sorry, I honestly think
we might get home tonight.
Sorry,
we might get home tonight.
The door's there. We'll manage. I think maybe. I think Basuma too. You don't think that's an intriguing transfer?
I wouldn't have minded him at Liverpool. I'll be honest.
Basuma from Brighton to.
I think it's a very good transfer. Obviously, there were legal issues that he's been cleared of. I think that's what scared a lot of clubs away. But on paper, I think it absolutely ticks the box that Conte wanted ticked.
Let's see.
We're boring you today. Something said about that.
Just fuming that Zach Steffen to Middlesbrough isn't there on loan. Anyway, listen, I do want to talk about another transfer though with you. It is Bremer from Torino to Juventus. Tell us about this player and how good he is.
I think the last 2 years he's been arguably one of the top 2 or 3 center backs in Serie A. Inter fans are absolutely furious because they thought he was coming to Inter, possibly to replace Milan Skriniar, and they feel like they've lost out on him. I think from Juve's perspective, he's a different player to De Ligt in the sense he's a much more aggressive defender. He's a very strong defender. and obviously he's going to have to adjust moving to Juve, but he has that natural leadership as well, and I think that's why people rate him so highly.
So how are Juve looking now with him in the side?
Hey, don't start asking questions. You wanted to go home 2 minutes ago.
I'm just trying to get through it quickly now, aren't I?
Hey, I'm picking my grandson up as well.
See, Stevie, I'm helping you out.
I think there's more to come in the transfer window from Juve. I put Di Maria in there because he's I don't love the Di Maria signing personally, but he is the big name signing. But
It's not bad on paper, doesn't it?
looks pretty good on paper to me. I mean, you could put Rabiot in that midfield if you're a Rabiot fan, or maybe his mom. Pellegrini I put in there ahead of Alexandro. I think he's at this stage of his career contributes more than Alexandro. Cuadrado's there just to get him in the team, but if Di Maria needs a breather, I'll just put Cuadrado further up, and I stick Danilo in there. Of course, Weston McKennie can go in the mix as well. And there's even suggestions that Morata could stick around another season.
Is it a Scudetto winning Juventus side?
I think they're going to feel that they have to do better than last season. I think, given what they've lost too in terms of the leadership of not just Ligt but Chiellini as well, it might be a bridge too far. But it's certainly a Scudetto challenging side, I think. So
Bremer to Juventus, that's done. And there have been some other transfer dealings as we go to air for you to tell you about. But yes, no Zach Steffen to Middlesbrough on loan. Zinchenko set to join Arsenal for 30 million transfer fee plus add-ons. Paulo Dybala going to Roma. That's a big one in Italy. Brian Broby as well set to join Ajax for 17 million fee plus add-ons there as well. Let's get you caught up on the CONCACAF Championship final between the US Women's National Team and Canada. A little look at the trophy there. We'll take it to the 76th minute. It'll be Canada who turned it over. Alex Morgan would find Rose Lavelle. She draws a penalty. Elisa Chapman bringing her down. Ref points to the spot.
Yeah, it's a penalty kick. It's unintentional, but doesn't matter. He's impeded her.
Alex Morgan steps up and scores. That's 118 goals in 196 caps for Morgan. Big news as well is that this means they have a place in the 2024 Olympics. 0 goals allowed at the whole championship. They've improved to 61-1 in World Cup and Olympic qualifying matches and have not allowed a goal in World Cup and Olympic qualifying since November 2010 against Mexico. So congratulations to the US women there. As for the US men, well, let's take a look at what's ahead for them, shall we? They have been placed in Group B in the upcoming World Cup this winter, along with England, Iran and Wales. And it's that game against England that all eyes are on, especially for our boys on Football Americas, who had the pleasure of catching up with the US coach, Greg Berhalter. They asked him about that game.
You know, we've been studying their games already. We watched 4 or 5 of their games, and they're vulnerable in some ways, but they're a $1 billion squad. Right? If you add up the quality in their team, it's over $1 billion. So we know it's going to be a difficult game. And for us, it's finding their weaknesses and exploiting their weaknesses, because we have, we're a difficult team to play against. And if we can take advantage of some of the things they don't do well, we'll have a chance in that game.
Greg, when you say you're a difficult team to play against, give me an example of what makes you guys difficult.
We don't give up a lot of goals, firstly. Secondly, we press relentlessly. We don't stop pressing. And it just breaks teams' rhythms, right? They will get some chances against us, right, if they break the press, but it's not easy. And we keep coming, and we have guys with good mentalities, and they'll keep pressing and keep going. And that makes the game a difficult game to be in.
What kind of England are you expecting? Because we saw in England at the Euros as very different than what we're seeing right now, currently.
Yeah. And listen, let's give England credit, because in the last World Cup, they came in 4th place, right? And in the last Euros, they came in 2nd place. It's a team that played well, that placed well in the last 2 major tournaments. So they're one of the favorites of the World Cup. It's going to be an extremely difficult game. But what we've seen lately is some uncertainty with their squad. And that's what we have to take advantage of. They're a well-coached team. They were missing some players in that last game. If they have their full-strength team, they're a handful. And we're going to have to be smart. We're going to have to manage the game, but we're going to have to be aggressive as well.
Gab, you're based in England. What's the reaction been to drawing the US in the group?
I think in general, most people think, oh, look, we got the easy group, right? But that little graphic there shows that the US undefeated against England in World Cup play. I'm sure that's very statistically significant sample there. But I mean, yeah, on paper, they are favorites. They're hot favorites. But I've said so long, I think it's a toss-up for second place on paper. But never underestimate the ability of favorites of big national sides, including England, to go and screw things up in tournaments.
You can always look. Not to say that the US do not have a chance to get out of this group, they do. And on any given day, for example, in the Euros last year, Scotland went down to Wembley and got a 0-0 draw, battled away. Didn't look like winning, but that was probably about as much as they could get out of it. So you can get results. I think England would have to have a bad tournament. We haven't really seen that under Gareth Southgate. It's got to be fresh in the memory to England that they shouldn't get overconfident, because you've only got to remember back to France when Iceland knocked them out and Roy Hodgson was vilified, and rightly so. So yeah, I didn't quite get when Greg Berhalter was talking about the uncertainty within the England squad. There is no uncertainty. They have a manager that's going to be the manager come what may when the World Cup starts. He's pretty steadfast in what his squad is, with a few younger fringe players maybe throwing their cap in the ring. But that's a pretty, whether we think Southgate's the man or not the man, or they're a little bit, pedestrian with the players that they have and they could play better, everybody's got their opinion on that. But what we do know, he's put together a pretty solid group of players that isn't going to change too much.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I suspect he's referring to, he's got such a wide array of choices in sort of that winger attacking midfield position, and that can be both a blessing, but maybe it can be a curse if you choose the wrong guy.
Well, I think they're
all good, so it's
but I think the uncertainty is maybe in the media, and the one thing I would say about Gareth Southgate is I don't think there's much uncertainty in his mind with most.
He's already decided what's going to happen 6 months from now.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, I think he has got a few options, but I think when everybody's fit, I don't think there's that much uncertainty. I think it's a lot of the media saying, "Oh, who is it? Is it Kyle Walker? Is still going to play? Is it Trent Alexander-Arnold? Is it Reece James?" That's all very well. We can sit and talk about these for 24 hours. I think he knows pretty much when they're all fit, whether we agree with it or not, what he's going to do.
He's got at least 17 or 18 names written down already. So where's the uncertainty?
Well, the uncertainty is who starts. Right?
Well, I think he knows who starts.
Yeah, well,
I think he pretty much knows.
How did he take advantage of
And
that?
I don't think it's a huge problem if players get injured in these positions that they're supposed to be maybe 2 or 3 for that position that are giving him a headache, then the next one steps up. I think in his mind, the England manager, he's pretty clear about what he wants.
Is it an interesting matchup for you, though, especially that it falls second in the group games, England and the USA?
I actually don't think it matters, because the way this game's going to be played is whether it's first, second or third, to be honest. England will be going forward. The US will have to be organised. They'll have to know all their jobs. And he said right at the end of the interview, but we're going to have to be aggressive. That means that when they actually get the ball, then they have to open up and go forward. But other than that, it's going to be the United States with a good shape, trying to get the ball and then doing something with it when they get it. I don't think that's going to change, whether it's the first, second or third game. Primarily because of Gareth Southgate as well. He's not a guy who opens up and gets after it. It's that all the time, and I don't think it'll change.
So if you defend well, you get a point. I think that's what. Because even it's Gareth Southgate, he's not going to take chances. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If England win their first game, I think it's there for a draw, if Southgate takes that attitude, right?
And Greg Berhalter following in the steps of Craig Burley with an appearance on Football Americas. So if you'd like to...
I bet he got paid. By the way, if he got paid for that, I'm going to be extremely...
We'll find out for you. Football Americas streamed twice a week over on ESPN Plus. For more on that Berhalter interview, go and check it out. So glad you're on today, Stevie, so we can celebrate this together. Thomas Gronemark, Liverpool's throwing coach, has signed a new contract for his 5th season at the club. He said he discovered throw-ins when he saw his big cousins doing long throw-ins in the mid-80s. So take your time when you meet a kid. You might start a passion. There you go, Stevie. Great news.
There's time for him yet, isn't there? Throw-in coach.
It's fine.
It's fine.
To be fair, if you saw the size,
You don't know how this all started, do you?
I don't know.
It really all started because of Jules. It was Julian Laurent's fault. See, I don't think there's a problem. I really don't think there's that big a problem having a throw-in coach, right? Now, do I think you need it? No, I don't. But I actually don't have a problem with that. What annoyed me initially was Julian was talking about a goal that Liverpool scored, and he said, you could clearly see they've been working with a throw-in coach. I'm like, what a lot of garbage. The first interaction with the throw-in, Firmino tried to flick it on and missed it. So did they practice try and miss it? So
maybe he sold them a dummy.
Will he be sending a card though? Will he be sending a congratulations card to Thomas Granemark? Saying well done.
Good luck to him. Tell you what, if you can get a 5-year contract showing somebody how to throw a ball, good luck to you. Well done, son.
Okay, we'll go.
There's not a lot. It takes a lot to make him angry.
So that's throwing balls onto the pitch.
Good for him.
What we're going to show you
it's
next
not about
is
that, but that's not what it's about, is it? The throw-in coach.
Okay, well we'll link you to this because this was a fish thrown onto the pitch. This is Leandro Fernandez, Independiente star in Argentina.
Is it a fresh fish or battered or frozen?
I think it came from the third row. Anyway, he got hit by a fish on the pitch. Don't worry, he's okay. This was earlier this month, but we just wanted to show you this. It was a big
What I don't
rivalry
understand is,
between the
right,
two.
well, one, what kind of moronic behaviour is it to throw a fish at anybody? Equally, what kind of moronic behaviour is it to walk out the house, going to a soccer match and taking a fresh fish?
You might get hungry at the ground. And
I'll tell you what.
Fire up a stove?
To be fair, it must have stunk because there's no way he fell because the fish hit him. It must have been the smell.
You know,
dude, he's passed out by the smell.
in all fairness, he did throw it. Is this the first half? Because he's got rid of the fish early. The game. It's like not even 3 minutes on the clock. He's gone. I can't.
So you know what they're calling on the medics?
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
It was the second half. He did come back on.
It was the
after
second
got
half.
hurt,
So
yeah.
where did he get the fish then? When he sat with the fish all game, there must have been people next to him going like that. Come on!
The medics like that. Page 3. What happens when somebody gets hit with a fish? Oh, aye, that's right. What we do. Aye.
Well, they were against their big rivals Racing in this one, who did win the game.
How annoying is that? It's a fish. You're going down like that.
Maybe there was a local river. Maybe that fish can jump further than you think. I don't know. I'm trying to find reasons
Yeah,
why
they were not
anybody
happy with
would
that.
take a fish. Take a fish. Right, right, kids, we're off to the game.
All right.
There's a fish for you. There's a fish for you. Dad.
It's official.
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 So
Tune
that's
it in
a-
tomorrow for lots more like this, but stay tuned now because extra time's on the way.
You got that in.
I hope you're having a
I thought he'd have had a few puns.
I hope
He had none.
I hope you didn't waste time thinking.
See you
about
next time. See you on Extra Time. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We've got Gad Marcotti with us today. Craig and Stevie are here too, and we've got your tweets and your questions.
At least we know it's
Whichever
going to
you
be a
have.
short extra time, very short.
Very short. Why would that be?
Gab's on it.
Because you wanted to go home during the show.
I was just saying the show's going to go on all night if we keep talking about transfers. And we're already 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that includes.
2022 is a leap year.
There you go. So,
So work it out
that's
quickly. How many is that?
366 days a year.
367?
366 days a year. All right, first question. Will Gab be going round to Stevie's for some lovely, authentic pasta?
I've not been invited, but like I said last time, we had some lovely mince. We had a shepherd's pie last time, and I had a lovely time.
Well, I think you need to know that I didn't know Gab was going to be in today. I had no idea Gab was coming. So how can you invite somebody when you don't even know they're going to be here?
We didn't want to create a media frenzy, by the way.
26 minute. It says it on the packet. Spaghetti.
26 months.
26 minutes. If you want it al dente, 22. Around there.
You know, we terrified Alessandro Del Piero when he found out how long Stevie puts his spaghetti on for.
You don't really, he's joking with the 26, 22 minutes.
No.
About 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
That's gone down 10 minutes since the last time.
Well, you added to it. You were trying. You sort of added a little spice to the story.
I mean, it depends. It depends on the type of pasta and the grain and whether it's bronzed or not. A whole bunch of factors go into it. But that's why you look at the number on the box and stick to that.
What
I
box?
don't care about the number on the box. I like it that way.
You also don't care about our producer's text because he did tell you Gab was going to be on today.
What text? Hey, when did he send that?
He said, Gab's going to be in studio today, Stevie. Look sharp.
I misread it.
Misread it?
I did.
All right, I'll let you off. For the Doctor of Shepherd's Pie, if you could give an honorary doctorate to any player based on footballing IQ, past or present, who is most deserving and why?
What?
Who's the cleverest player you've ever
right.
Footballing IQ, though, not just smart off the pitch.
No, it should be off the pitch.
It says footballing IQ.
Well, because you listen, people like Dalglish and Rossi and all these guys, and the reason they're as good as they are is because of the football IQ. It should be somebody who plays football but shouldn't, probably, because their IQ off the field, they're probably wasted playing football.
All right, who then?
Oh, you.
Well, you're not allowed to put yourself in that position. I believe.
Yeah, you're very.
I believe that.
You're very modest.
That would be the humble
You're very
thing to do.
modest.
So I'm going to go with Jeff Laurentowicz. Played for me at the New England Revolution. And while he was playing, he was talking about. And while he was playing,
All right.
I was having a conversation with him, and I don't know how we got onto it, but he started talking about how he wanted to invent windows
That you
Right.
could see out of.
that you could see out of, correct, but you could change it so that if the sun was bright, they became like sunglasses. And I'm like, what is he doing playing for the Revolution?
You know that already exists, yeah?
I've probably got it a little bit wrong, but it was along those lines. Of
Well, he told you the
inventing.
story. I mean,
It was inventing. It was like 15 years ago, geez a break. But it was along the lines of inventing some sort of glass that had. It
Right.
was like that.
Is it like when somebody rings you and asks you if you'd like some solar panels on your roof?
Hey?
Didn't you get a call asking if you'd? Didn't you get a call asking if you'd like to take part in a trial to have some solar panels on your roof?
No, it wasn't solar panels.
What was it?
What was it?
Was it windows that go a bit darker in the sun?
Something.
gutters.
What was it?
A chimney?
Slates.
Oh God, what was it? It was something like that. But it was free.
Of course it was.
Or so they
It
told
was.
you.
We would like you. Would you like to take part? Basically, we'll put this thing in, and then we'll use it. We'll use it as an advertisement. Would you be up for that? I was like, well, hold on a minute. So it's free.
Well, they should
We're going
pay
to
you
do it.
if they're going to use your roof
but it
for
was-
as a big
no, but it was
billboard.
free. So I thought, so I called them. So I called the guy. I said, hi. I said, I'm calling about that. And he went, yeah. I said, when would you like me to send somebody out to give you an estimate? And I went, what are you talking about, an estimate? The guy went, yeah, we'll give you an estimate. I went, no, that's not what it says on your. That's not what it says on your advertisement. The advertisement is you're giving it to me so you can let people see them and advertise them. And the guy went, so you don't want somebody to come out and give you an estimate? I went, no.
Why do you think they came to your house?
Bosh. Bosh.
Random?
Honestly, it was an email.
Oh, do you mean? And you
All
still
right.
don't know where it is.
I can't remember what
Don't
it
know
was.
what the guy invented.
It wasn't solar
I think it was solar panels.
It was something.
I think
There's
that's what
only so
you
many
told
things
me.
you can put in a roof. I mean,
know.
slates, gutter, a chimney, and then a solar panel.
Have a think about it. To all, when I lived in Glasgow in the 80s, they taught kids about the Old Firm Derby rivalries in preschool by asking us to wear the scarves of the team we supported in the week leading up to the game. Which other rivalry in Europe matches that intensity and starts at that young age?
1 second. And then scarves with team support that we up to get that can't be correct, because the schools in Glasgow, particularly in the 80s, were not mixed schools.
Right.
So there were Catholic schools and there were Protestant schools. Unless I've got that wrong, because I grew up in Scotland and there was Catholic schools, and Protestant schools. Unfortunately, I don't agree with that, but that's the way it is.
I'm also pretty sure they wouldn't encourage the kids to go and wear the colors necessarily. I mean, you hear stories where like you wear like green or blue in the wrong place and bad things happen, right?
I mean, do you know?
But I've got to question whether our tweeter actually lived in Glasgow.
All right. Well, let's take it to the final portion of the question.
So you have Rangers fans coming from the Protestant schools and Celtic fans coming from the Catholic schools, and there is no unfortunately, and to this day in Scotland there is very little integration.
Okay.
It's particularly in the 80s.
In terms of rivalry, though, in Europe, what matches at an intensity like the Old Firm derby?
I don't think he's interested in the wherefores or the reasons behind it. She just wants to know them.
No,
All right, so they didn't wear scarves.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They'd be fighting.
I'm interested,
They'd be smashing
but
windows
the
at
point
the school. They'd be fighting. They'd be doing all kinds. The police would come. But is there another
of
rival?
course I take these things seriously, but listen, that was just some context to the question that the tweet is sent us, but ultimately there is a question at the end of it.
Well, I don't know is the answer. There's so many good derbies around the world.
I know the answer. The answer is no. Yeah. I do this for a living. I've been derbies all over, and derbies that are very intense and whatever. There is absolutely nothing to me like the Old Firm.
I went to a very ferocious Milan derby in San Siro just over 10 years ago. That was pretty intense. I remember that. But I don't know. I mean, I played in it quite a few times. You don't always take it all in as a player sometimes. So it's very intense.
You're not from Glasgow. You're only there for a year, right? So.
Oh, over 3 years.
Okay.
What's it like being on the streets around that time?
Yeah, we don't have to come from Glasgow, by the way.
No, I know, but
In Ayrshire, where we come from, you were either a Rangers or a Celtic fan, and I didn't know any Catholic guy I knew wasn't a Rangers fan. I don't know one. So you didn't have to come from Glasgow. You just need to come from Scotland, and you know what it's about.
During the build-up to those weeks, though, if you were walking around, did you get comments and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But you got comments in most cities, but yeah. I mean, you got comments anyway. It doesn't matter if you're leading up to an Old Firm game because it's Rangers and Celtic,
It's constant, wasn't it?
and then the rest. It is constant. But I've said particularly a lot, haven't I? It would get very ferocious on the build-up week to one of those games. Really, and it can be quite unsavoury, but that's the nature of the beast sometimes, unfortunately.
2020.
Particularly.
That is particularly unfortunate.
Yes, particularly.
Did I see that you'd been practicing another word and you absolutely nailed it on the last
Philanthropist.
show?
That's an easy word to say. Anybody could say it.
Not the first time you said it, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
2022 pre-season Manchester United.
So what were they putting on your roof?
I can't remember.
Oh, here we go. 2022 pre-season Manchester United or 2011-12 Barcelona. Which is the better team?
I appreciate the provocation here.
There's a lot of excitement, obviously, about this Manchester United side in the pre-season.
Let people be excited. This is what pre-season is for, right? It's like the build up to Christmas. You're looking forward to receiving presents and so on, and you get excited, and
Who said
it looks good so far.
Who said there's a lot of people excited about this Man United?
Well, there's a lot of United fans, I think, hoping for better.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
And they played well.
That's a
The
fair way
build
to
up
put it.
on the third goal for Sancho,
Yeah.
the Martial finish set up by your boy Dalto.
They're all so excited they're booing the players.
Don't.
They're so excited, let's go and boo the team.
They like the other
That's
players.
a great idea.
All right, for the panel, start bench drop. Pavel Nedved, David Beckham, Roy Keane.
Okay, I'll go first.
Come on.
Just get it out of the way.
Nedved, Beckham, Keane.
Playing Roy. I'm benching Nedved and I'm dropping Beckham.
Gav.
I'm going to play Roy Keane as well because I think he might get angry if I didn't.
I can't remember Nedved's stats in total, but I just...
Yeah, I would probably... Nedved did win a Ballon d'Or for what it's worth. Beckham, I think, finished second, or did he win one too? If you were talking, were those the stats you're talking about? I know how much you love Ballon d'Or discussions, Craig.
It just came to me. Ballon d'Or 2000, when was it? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would go same as Craig.
Okay, you got
Kane.
a leader on there?
Start Kane.
Okay.
Bench Beckham. And drop Nedved. Bring him on, take a free kick. Thanks for coming.
Of course, there was going to have to be a Barcelona financial question here. Beckham didn't win the Ballon d'Or, by the way.
Well, we can go and Gab will tell you.
We knew that.
We'll just
Right.
We knew that.
Gab, what do you think about measuring Barca's risk of borrowing against the future by spending now to improve the squad versus the risk of austerity in regards to squad investment and potentially being mired in mediocrity for years?
Okay. I get the gist of it. I'll just give you the answer. The reality is, they've made a conscious decision. But the fact is, last season Barcelona had 6 months of Koeman, they had issues, and De Jong and Braithwaite, whatever, they still finished second in the league. They still had Xavi been there all season. I'm pretty confident they would have gotten out of the group. So austerity doesn't mean that you finish 10th, doesn't mean that you go and you become Girona or Levante overnight. It's La Liga. You're still going to finish top 4 unless you really screw things up. You've got a core of young players. You've got a core of exciting young players. You've got everybody on board Xavi. You go and you explain to people that this is what you need to do and that you're not going to mortgage your future about this because, forever until they buy the rights back, and who knows when that happens, they're going to have to give 10% or 25% of their, 25% if they sell everything of their TV revenue. All these things come together. It's not going to be that bad. Show some faith in what you have. You weren't such an awful team last season in the second half of the season. So it's not mediocrity. Barcelona will still be Barcelona. It's 1 year. United have been basically bad since Sir Alex left. There's still United fans all over the world. They still pack a commercial punch. There's not even a commercial argument there. I'm not saying that would have necessarily been the right move, but it's not this trade-off of mediocrity and then the club's going to die a slow death. You're still Barcelona. Oh my God, if we don't get Lewandowski, we're finished. And 100 years of history have been erased. You're still Barcelona. I think that would have been my conservative strategy. But hey, you want to go out and you want to roll the dice. The one thing which makes me uncomfortable, and I'm not having a go at Laporta, is that this is the problem with democracy, right? Laporta was democratically elected. He's the guy who made this big decision. If this blows up in Barcelona's face and they become insolvent, he'll be gone. He's not going to be there to face it. But that's the flip side, right? If you had a traditional club owner, it would be his money on the line. So there's pros and cons to democracy, I guess.
Doctor of Shepherd's Pie, once again. Has Liverpool done enough during this summer transfer window? Is there another player or two you'd like to see them get?
I think Craig, it was you, Craig, that brought up Bissouma, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I would quite like to have had Bissouma.
Cristiano Ronaldo's going.
He's available.
No, thank you. No, listen, I think if they got Bissouma, I'd be quite happy with what they have.
Bit thin in the middle of the park?
Yeah.
Is that's where you're going to?
Yeah. Plus Bissouma, I think, is perfect. The way Klopp plays again, the way he wants his middle three to chase people, harry people, get the ball to the front three, and Bissouma can pass the ball. You don't play for Brighton unless you can pass the ball. So I would have thought, had they got him, I would have been very happy.
So you're not even being greedy, just one there. Yeah. They said you could have one or two. All right.
Confident.
Okay. We'll see. For Craig and Stevie, who's better in their prime, Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard, and why?
Oh, I love these original. And can they play together for England?
Oh, well, unfortunately they did. I don't know. Do you know what? Help.
I think, well, the problem is I'm going to say Gerrard.
But I think Steven Gerrard was technically
but then
better.
I'm going to get the old red glasses.
See, when did I ever do that?
Oh no, you've never done that.
No, it's a different skill set. I'll be honest with you, I think Steven Gerrard was a technically better midfielder. Box to ball, passing the ball, blah, blah, blah. Not that Lampard couldn't pass it, but I think Gerrard had more arsenal. I do think Lampard was, his better skill set was timing runs, which is and finishing, which is a skill set. So different. I don't know.
With a higher football IQ, Steve.
Sorry?
Who had
With
the higher football IQ?
I don't think you can separate them as far as football IQ.
All right. Who's better in the prime then, Gerrard or Lampard?
There are some players you can't. See, Gerrard, what Lampard did was as good as anybody at the time or previously. I mean, the finishing was centre forward finishing. I mean, the timing of the runs, you talk about reading the game, because you've got to be able to read the game. You've got to be able to read the guy on the ball, whether he's going to put the ball in the box for you to get on the end of it. It's very difficult to separate them. I would say Gerrard would be a more rounded player, because he could play in more positions than Frank. I can't see Frank playing right back or anything like that. You could stick Gerrard at right back or right midfield, or you could maybe get away with centre back. So more rounded Gerrard.
You just didn't see Lampard spraying the ball around like Gerrard. There's a different skill set. So I do think this one's a 50-50.
Okay. And
I'm happy with that.
And you're both okay with that? Have you got an opinion on it, Gav, to settle this argument?
I mean...
But there is no argument, by the way, because they're both saying 50-50 and sitting on the fence here. Yeah.
I take on board what they're saying. I think if you look over the course of the career, Lampard's longevity suggests to me that at a certain point, and certainly the perception for me would be that Gerrard would be a better rounded athlete. Once you say that Gerrard's technically better, and once you say that, I think you would agree that Gerrard's probably in their prime as a better athlete than Lampard in terms of strength and pace and agility, then you got to give Lampard the football IQ part. Otherwise, you can't say they're 50-50, right?
But then I have an argument against that. The fact that Gerrard could play in the Premier League in different positions means that he's got an incredible IQ.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different arguments, and none of them are wrong, basically.
But if you had to have one in your team, Steve.
If we had Paul Scholes in there as well, we could have a Don Hutchinson at 350%. We could go 50-50-50 across the three of them.
We could, but we don't have Don on today, unfortunately. We'll have him on again soon. Thanks so much for sending in your tweets today. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. See you then.